Hello students, today I am going to discuss the discrete time systems. Discrete time systems may be a device or an algorithm. Okay. Now, if I consider this black box is a discrete time system, it is the input xn and yn is the output. Input is also known as the excitation and output is also called the response of the system. Okay. So if a system is defined by H, which is the transformation or the system operator, that means the operation which will done by the system on the input or excitation, okay, that is called the system operator or the transformation. Then the system can be defined mathematically as response equal to system operation on the excitation, or output of the system should be equal to system operation on the input of the system. Okay. In this curriculum, we will consider only the LTI systems, that means linear time invariant systems. I will discuss what is linear, what is time invariant system in due course. Okay. First of all, let me just clarify that systems which will obey the principle of superposition are called the linear systems, and time invariant means it will obey the principle of time invariance. So we will deal with only the LTI systems. Non-linear or time variant systems are out of the scope of your syllabus. Next is the impulse response. Now, what is the impulse response of a system? It is a very important parameter because if you know the impulse response of any system, then for any arbitrary input, you can simply predict the output, or you can calculate what will be the output of that system for that specific arbitrary input signal. So actually, the impulse response is the characteristics of any system. Okay. Now, define the system. It is the system characterized by the system operation of H. If you provide at the input, if you provide a unit impulse signal, then output of the signal is called the impulse response. That means impulse response is notified by Hn, which is nothing but system operation on the delta function or the unit impulse signal. Okay. So systems, LTI systems are characterized by the impulse response, which is nothing but response of the system for a unit impulse input. Okay, it is notified by Hn. Now, mathematical equation governing the discrete time systems. Output of the system is the linear summation, actually the weighted linear summation of all possible delayed version of the output signal and all possible weighted sum of the delayed version of the input signal. Now, number of delayed versions are, say that yn minus 1, yn minus 2, yn minus 3. That means the first one is delayed by unit time index, second one is time index of 2, third one is time index of 3, up to time index of n number of delays are given, and for the input signals m number of delays are given. So that means here n number of turns are present, here m number of turns are present. Okay, remember that for a realizable system, generally m should be greater than n, and n is called the order of the system. If n is equal to 1, it is called the first order system. N is equal to 2, second order. N is equal to 3, third order, etc. So number of terms, input terms will be greater or equal to the number of the output terms. This particular difference equation can be written in compact form by using this particular summation terms. See that it is the output of the system or the response, which is the summation. Look at these terms. Summation starting from I equal to 1 up to n. These terms actually I am summing up. Ai minus sign is there because these are the minus signs. Minus signs will be there, a I y n minus I. Okay, so these are actually taking all the output terms, and this term starting from I equal to 0, because see that the first input term is not having any delay, and it is up to m, so that is the m plus 1 terms actually. So I equal to 0 up to m, weighted sum of the input delayed version of the input signal. So this is the compact form of the difference equation which will govern the DT LTI systems. It is also known as the constant coefficient difference equation. By solving this difference equation with appropriate initial conditions, you can obtain the response of the system for a given input. Okay, these are the examples. First order system equation will be like that. Okay, single output term will be at the RHS and two input terms will be there. Second order system n equal to 2 output terms will be there at the RHS and 3 input terms. In this way you can just calculate, or you can obtain different order systems from this general equation number 2. Now how can you represent a system as a block diagram if the system equation is given? That means if the constant coefficient difference equation is given to you, then how can you draw the systems via the block diagram? So I am showing you a chart which will specify what are the notations or what are the block diagram representation procedures for different operations. Suppose you want to represent a adder, then it will be like that. Okay, x1n, x2n, two signals are there, which is the input of the adder, and output will be x1 plus x2. Constant multiplier means if input is there, if it will have to be amplitude scaled by means of a is the multiplication factor, then output will be a multiplied by xn. Unit delay element is generally represented by z to the power minus 1. It is the z transform. I will discuss the z transform in my next lecture. Remember that unit delay is represented by z by multiplying the input signal by z to the power minus 1. Now just remember that. Okay, after that explanation you will get from my next lecture. So it is the unit delay element representation. Input is xn, unit delay is given by the z term, z to the power minus 1. Output will be xn minus 1. Okay, unit amount of delay is given. If any amount of delay, suppose m amount of delay, okay, you have to provide, then it will be z to the power minus m, and if the input is xn, then output will be xn minus m. Okay, unit advance element, it is the reverse of it. That means the operator will be just reciprocal of the earlier one. Here it will be z. Unit advance time advancement, input is xn, time advancement is z, so that will output will be xn plus 1. If any amount of advancement, time advancement you have to provide, suppose z to the power m amount of time advancement you want to provide by this block, then it will be z to the power m, and output will be xn plus m. Okay, now I am showing you how can you draw the block diagram of a given system characterized by this particular system equation. Okay, so see that system equation output is equal to 0.25 unit delayed version of the output, 0.5 input multiplied by input signal plus 0.75 multiplied by the unit delayed version of the input signal. Okay, how can you draw this block diagram? First, what you have to do, first at the left hand side take a point and name it as the xn, and at the right hand side take another point and name it as the yn, because you know that whenever you want to draw a system, input side should be at the left side, it is the xn input, and output side should be at the right hand side, it is the yn or the output. Okay, in between them there must be some block diagram which will represent this particular equation. Okay, so see that how we are getting this equation. First look at the left hand side, that means the input side. Okay, input side you have already obtained xn here, and you have to prepare these two terms. Okay, these two terms, summation of these two terms. First see that you have already have this xn term. So if you want to multiply that xn term with a multiplication factor of 0.5, then you will obtain the first term here. Okay, so xn is here already. Put a multiplication factor of 0.5 here. So at this point you are getting the second term. That means the 0.5 xn. Okay, and next you have to prepare this term. Okay, this term is nothing but a single delayed version of the input signal. At this point it is already input signal is there, that is xn. If you provide a delayed version here, then at this point you will get the xn minus 1. Okay, and xn minus 1 multiplied by 0.75. So put a multiplication factor here, multiplier here, 0.7 of amount of 0.75. So at this point you will get the second term or the third term here. Okay, 0.75 multiplied by xn minus 1. So here you have obtained the second term, this one, and here you have obtained the third term, this one. If you add them by means of a adder, then at this point you have already obtained these two terms. Okay, so these two terms you have already obtained. And now what will be the rest work? You have to add another term with this particular branch, okay, in order to obtain the yn. Now what is the procedure? See that at the output at the right hand side, at this point you have already you have the yn. Okay, but you want to have the yn minus 1. So take a branch from here which is representing the yn, give a delay. So at this point you have already obtained yn minus 1, and multiply yn minus 1 by means of this multiplier, constant gain multiplier of 0.25 amount. So at this point, output of the multiplier, you have obtained the first term of the RHS. So 0.25 yn minus 1. Okay, at this point you have the first term, and at here you have already obtained the summation of the second and third terms. So if you add them by means of an adder, then what will you obtain? At the output of the adder, it is nothing but the yn as per the equation, and yn is actually here, so short them. Okay, so if you short them, output of the adder is straightforward given to the output, then you have already completed the block diagram of the system characterized by this difference equation. Okay, now let me discuss the response of a LTI DT system in time domain. So you can write it is the general equation, general difference equation representing the general equation for any constant coefficient difference equation for any LTI DT system. Okay, to this term, that means the first term of the RHS to the LHS. Okay, so look at here, this term is taken to the left hand side, and right hand side is only have the input terms. Okay, and just take this particular term inside of the summation, and consider coefficient of yn as a0. Okay, if you take into that, your index will be changed from m equal to 1 to m equal to 0, because we have already taken this term inside. Okay, so that will be that LHS is representing summation, weighted summation of all output terms, and the RHS is representing the weighted summation of all input terms. Okay, so it is the another compact form of representation of the constant coefficient difference equation characterizing any LTI DT system. Now how can you solve them? You do have two methods. First method, method 1, you can have the overall response by summing up the homogeneous response and the particular response. Okay, homogeneous response means response of the system or the solution of this difference equation when there is no input. That means you have to fix this RHS equal to 0. There will be no input. Okay, only the LHS will be there, and from that, by solving the difference equation, you can obtain the homogeneous solution of the equation number 1. Okay, and after that, another solution will be there, that is the particular solution. Solution of the difference equation for a specific input signal xn for n greater or equal to 0. That means if xn must be the causal signal. Okay, so for a given specific input signal which will be given to your problem, you have to find out the RHS term, and after that solve this entire equation in order to find out the yn, that is called the ypn. Okay, and that is called the particular solution. After getting separately the homogeneous solution and particular solution, sum of them, it will give you the overall solution. That is method number 1. Next method is called the method number 2, which is nothing but overall system response will be the zero input response plus zero state response. Okay, zi means zero input response plus yzs zero state response. Okay, so what is the zero input response? Zero input response is due to the initial conditions or the initial stored energy in the system. It is also known as the free response or natural response. Now let me clarify that it is nothing but the homogeneous solution with constants evaluated using the initial conditions. Whenever you got the homogeneous solution like this homogeneous solution, you will have one or two constants. For the first order system, there will be one constant. Second order system, it will be two constants. Third order system, it will be three constants. Okay, and accordingly, you will be given the number of initial conditions. For first order system, one initial condition will be given. Second order system, two initial conditions, and so on. So by using those initial conditions, you have to find out those constants. Okay, and by putting those constants into the homogeneous solution, you will obtain the zero input response, because you know that for the homogeneous solution you have already considered there is no input of the system. Okay, so zero input response is obtained by evaluating the constant of the homogeneous solution. After that, you have to find out the zero state response. Zero state response is due to the input signal and with zero initial condition. Okay, so there will be an input signal which will be given. It is a specific input signal for which again you have to solve the difference equation, but here you have to consider the zero initial condition which will be given to you. Okay, and that response is called the zero state response or the forced response. It is the sum of the homogeneous solution and the particular solution at zero initial condition. That means by using this method, you have already the homogeneous solution plus the particular solution. Okay, and if you find out the homogeneous solution plus particular solution for zero initial condition, then you can obtain the zero state response or the forced response. Okay, after getting the zero state response and zero input response, just sum of them, you will obtain the overall response. Okay, now I will recommend all of you to carry out several problems which is given to the book of Nagorkani for getting the solution of the difference equations by means of both method 1 as well as method 2. If you know the method 1, then method 2 is very easy, because just some back and forth. Okay, so by solving those examples, you can have the idea how can you find out the response of a given system characterized by the difference equation by means of these two methods of solution procedures. Okay, so I will recommend you to go through the book of Nagorkani and solve those examples, because those are very important for your semester examinations. Okay, I am not solving those examples in this class. I am straightforward going to my next topic, that is the classification of discrete time systems. Now, classifications, first type of classification is the static and dynamic systems. What is static system? Static systems are also known as the memoryless system. If the output of the system at any instant depends on only the present sample of the input signal, not on the past or future samples, then it is called the static or memoryless system. That means if the system is totally depends on output of the system totally depends on the instantaneous input of the system, there is no past or future dependency. Okay, that is called the static or memoryless system. Next is the dynamic system. If the output of the system depends on not only the present sample but also it can depend on the past or future samples or both, then the system is called the dynamic system. Now let me give you some examples. Suppose this system yn equal to axn. See that axn, this term depends only on the present sample of the input, so it is simply the static or memoryless system. Next one, yn is equal to nxn plus 6x to the power 3n. Okay, here also there is no future or past sample dependency, only the present sample dependency, so it is also a static memoryless system. Next, the examples are of the dynamic system. See that here for the first one, xn plus 3xn minus 1. So this one is nothing but the path sample. Okay, and this one is another finite memory system. M equal to 0 to n. So number of terms are here are n plus 1. Okay, so these are all the delayed versions. So these are all the path samples. So the system will be a dynamic system, but finite amount of memory is required in order to store this system, because for the first one only 2 memory locations are required. For the second one, n plus 1 number of memory locations are required to store the entire system. For the infinite memory system, if infinite number of RHS terms are present, like this one, m is starting from 0 up to infinity, so infinite output is dependent on infinite number of delayed version of the input signal. So this system is another dynamic system, but infinite number of memory locations are required to store the system, which is impractical. Next one is the time variant and time invariant systems, which is very important, and several problems may arise in your semester examinations. You have to solve them. Okay, first, time invariant system. If the input output characteristics do not change with time, then it is called the time invariant. Okay, or it is also known as the shift invariant. Okay, so how can you define it? Suppose you have a system characterized by the system operation of h. If you have input xn, h operation will be done on the input and you will obtain the response yn. Okay, if the system is defined by this way, that means this way. Okay, so the system should be such that if you provide any delay, any amount of delay at the input, xn minus m amount of delay is given, output will be delayed by the same amount. Okay, there will be no change. That means the output shifted version will be same as the system operation on the input shifted version. Then this is called the time invariant or the shift invariant. That means system operation on the delayed version of the input should be equal to system operation on the input, undelayed version of the input. Then you have to provide the delay of amount n. Okay, if the both of them are same, then this is called the time invariant. If this particular equality is not holding for any system, then it is called the time variant. Okay, then you have to check for the time variancy of any given system in your numerical problems given to your semester examinations. Let me give you 2 steps how can you check it. First, take the input, give the delay first, it will be the delayed version. After that, do the system operation, get the output y1n. Okay, then do the just reciprocal operation. That means first take the input, do the system operation, get the yn, and after that give the delay. Okay, that means here first delay was given, after that system operation you have obtained the y1n, and next one the reciprocal operation has been done. First system operation is done, getting the yn, and after that same amount of delay is given, so you have obtained y2n. If y1n and y2m are equal, then the system is called the time invariant. If they are unequal, then it is called the time variant system. Okay. Now let me work out some examples. Suppose a system is characterized by this equation. Equation number 1, yn equal to xn minus xn minus 1. Okay. Test 1. First take the input, do the delayed version, that means xn minus m. Okay, so first term will be xn minus m, second term will be xn minus m minus 1. Okay, and after that do the system operation. So y1n will be equal to that I have said. The output will be xn minus m minus xn minus m minus 1. Okay, so it is the first one. Next one, do the reverse operation. First do test 2, first do the system operation. So take the input, by doing the system operation you have obtained the equation number 1, yn equal to xn minus xn minus 1. Okay, and after that do the provide the delay of amount m. So it is nothing but yn minus m. Okay, so y2n is equal to yn minus m. Overall delay is provided to the right hand side. This one will be xn minus m minus xn minus m minus 1. Okay, now look at here, y1n and y2n here are equal, so you can conclude that it is time invariant. For the next one do the same, test 1 and test 2. First give the delay to the input, you will obtain xn minus m, and if you do the system operation now, see that system operation means you are going through this equation. So system operation for both the cases where the n is available, both will be shifted by amount of n, because here argument of the input is already n minus m. Okay, and as you see from the equation that yn is equal to n multiplied by xn. That means this n should be, whatever the n here should be reflected at here as well as here. That means input argument should be reflected here also. Okay, here the input argument is n minus m. So what will be the output of the system? That argument should be reflected here, n minus m, and multiplied by xn minus m. Okay, that is the y1n. But if you do the reverse operation in the test 2, provide the input, do the system operation, you will obtain the equation number 1 here. After that provide the delay of amount z to the power minus m. If you provide the delay, there is nothing to do with this n with the delay, because this is not inside the signal. So this particular term will be unchanged, but the signal will get the delay of amount m. So that will be that n multiplied by x n minus m. Okay, you can see that here y1n and y2n are different. They are not uh, same. So you can say that it is time variant or shift variant. Okay. Next is the linear and non-linear systems. As I mentioned that linear systems are those systems which satisfies the principle of superposition. That means if you provide a weighted sum of input at the input of the system, output will be like that. And if you individually apply the input signals to the system and after that do the weighting operation, then you will obtain these two terms here, and this particular equality must be maintained in order to obtain the in order to obey the method of superposition. Let me clarify graphically, that will be better understood. First, this term I am replicating. How can you do that graphically? First, take two separate input signal x1n and x2n. Okay, do the constant multiplication operation for individually. For x1n it is the a1, x2n it is the a2. Okay. After multiplication you are obtaining these two, and individual signals are now summed up by means of an adder. You are obtaining this weighted summation operation of the both input signals. Okay, both input signals are weighted summed here, and now this whole weighted sum is given as the input of the system, and output of the system will be system operation on the weighted sum. Okay, that is the left hand side of the LHS. And now find out the RHS. How can you find out? Very easy. First, take the individual input signals x1n and x2n. For the x1n, do the system operation first. Okay, pass the x1n through the system and you will obtain system operation on x1n, and again pass the second input through the system again and you will obtain the system operation on the second input. Okay, those are individually obtained, and after that first one is passed through the a1 multiplier and second one is passed through the a2 multiplier individually. So you will obtain a1h x1n and a2h x1n. After that summed up, and you will obtain this one a1h x1n plus a2h x1n. So actually here first you are getting the weighting operation on the inputs individually, summing up those and weighted sum of the input signals, and then doing the system operation. You are getting the LHS. But for the RHS you are doing the reverse thing. Individually you are doing first the system operation, after that weighting operation, and then the sum operation, and you are getting the RHS. If for both these processes the outputs are same, then you can conclude that system is a linear system. Otherwise, if you see that this term and these terms are unequal, then you can conclude it is the non-linear system. So let me give you some examples. Suppose again consider the first system where yn is equal to n xn. Okay, so first you have to carry out this particular set of operations. Okay, so individually you are providing two signals. Okay, so you have to if you actually it is doing the second operation first. Okay, so individually if you provide two separate signals x1n and x2n as the inputs separately, then the corresponding outputs will be y1n and y2n. This will be that. Okay, and after that if you summed up them by providing individual multipliers, see that y1n is multiplied by a1 and y2n is multiplied by a2 and summed up them, and you will obtain this one. It is the equation number D. Okay, so second operation is done first. After that you are doing the first operation. Now take two signals x1n and x2n and do the first operation, that means sum, that means first provide the weights here, a1 x1n plus a2 x2n. So weighted summation of the input set is now defined as the x3n. Okay, now this x3n is given as input of the system here. Okay, input of the system. So what will you obtain? This overall thing is given as the input, and you know that as per the system operation, input multiplied by n is the system operation. So this overall input multiplied by n is there. So simplify them and you can conclude that this one is same as this one. So you can say it is a linear system. Now look for another system, whether check for it whether it is linear or non-linear. So it is the system defined by yn is equal to x to the power 2 n. Okay, so individually if you provide two individual signal x1n and x2n, you will obtain corresponding outputs y1n and y2n. Okay, and after getting the weighted sum of the outputs, you will obtain this will be the overall weighted sum of the outputs. Okay, next prepare the weighted sum of the inputs and give it as the input of the signal. That means in place of xn, you have to provide this whole thing as the input. And the system operation, what will do the system operation? It will just square the input signal. So overall input signal is this now, or x3n. So output y3n will be equal to x3n whole square. Okay, so this one whole square. And if you elaborate it, you can observe this one is not same as this one. Okay, so you can say it is non-linear system. Next is the causal and non-causal systems. A system is said to be causal if the output of the system at any instant of time n depends only on the present input, past inputs and past outputs, but does not depend on the future input or outputs. Then it is called the causal system. Remember that if the output of a system depends only on the present input, past inputs and past outputs, but not on the future input or future outputs, then these are called the causal systems. And if the system depends on the future input or output, then it is called the non-causal system. Now by looking at the system, you can conclude that whether it is causal or non-causal. Look at here, a system is given as yn, if operation is there, within bracket there are several samples. Okay, xn, what is it? It is the present input. What are these? These are the past inputs, because these are all delayed versions. Okay, and these are the past outputs. So this particular system depends on only the present input, past input and past outputs. So it is a causal system, but there is no n plus 1 or n plus 2 terms here for the inputs or outputs. So future input or outputs are absent. So you can conclude that it is a causal system. Now what is it? By seeing this, I can say that it is a causal system, because here only present input is present and a one delayed version, that means the past input is present. How can you check it? You can check very easily. Make a table. First one is the time index, next one is the yn, and after that you can have the remark. Check for the system for different samples. First 0, at n equal to 0, what will be the outputs? So output y0 will be equal to x0 minus x minus 1. See that 0 means you are finding out the system response at n equal to 0. That means 0 is now the present sample. Okay, so you are finding out the output present sample, it is the input present sample, and x minus 1, that means it is a past input sample. Minus 1 means just 1 unit delayed version of the input signal. So it is the past input sample. So you can conclude it is the it is depending on only the present and past inputs. Okay, for the n equal to 1, again n equal to 1 means now 1 is the present sample. Okay, so find out the present sample of the output y1. It depends on x1 present input sample minus x0. Now if n equal to 1 is the present, then n equal to 0 was the past. Okay, so this term is the past input. Okay, so you can say both of them are present and past inputs. So if you check this for different n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and minus 1, minus 2, etc., all of the cases the output will be dependent on present and past inputs. So you can conclude that it is a causal system. Now look at here. Another example, yn equal to x minus 1. Okay, again build this particular table and start checking from some minus samples. Okay, take n equal to minus 2 first. Okay, find out n equal to this system response or the output sample for n equal to minus 2. N equal to minus 2 means minus 2 is now the present sample. Okay, so output will be equal to x plus 2, because see that within the argument it is minus n. So if n equal to minus 2, then this argument will become plus 2, this one. Okay, now see that if n equal to minus 2 is the present sample, then n equal to 2 will be at the right hand side, so it is the future sample. So the output sample at n equal to minus 2 depends on the future sample of the input, that is at n equal to 2. So it is depending on the future input. So at the first case you are concluding that the output of the system is dependent on the future input. So it is automatically non-causal. You can check for n equal to minus 1 also. For this case also present sample is n equal to minus 1. You are finding out y minus 1 and it depends on x1, that means at the right hand side, x for the n equal to 1. Okay, it is again future sample, but for n equal to 0 it is the present sample. See that y equal to 0, x equal to 0, both are it is the present sample is the n equal to 0 and it depends on the input at n equal to 0. For n equal to 1, present sample is y, and for n equal to 1 it depends on x minus 1, that means it is at the left hand side. So it is not having any problem. It is the past input, it is the past input at the left hand side. Okay, although these two and so forth all are depends on the present or past inputs, for the negative time index values the samples are depends on the future inputs. So you can conclude it is the non-causal system. Okay, now stable and unstable systems, it is very important. Stability means the bounded input bounded output stability. Stable systems, if every bounded input produces bounded output, then it is called the bounded input bounded output stable system. Okay, bounded input means if the modulus of the input, that means the amplitude of the input, is less or equal to some value, it is notified by mx. Okay, and this, if this mx is less than infinity, that means finite for all n, then it is called the bounded input. And output is again defined by amplitude of the output is less or equal to my, some value which is less than infinity or finite for all n. If this one implies the second one, then it is called the stable system. That means if you provide any bounded input to the input of the system and system provides you another bounded output, both are bounded, then the system is called the stable system. If for any bounded input system will provide you some unbounded output, then it is called the unstable system. Okay, remember, condition for stability, it is very important factor for your semester purpose. The proof of this particular stability criteria can be asked to you in order to prove it. So I have given you the derivation. Now look at here, this particular equation yn is equal to m starting from minus infinity up to plus infinity. here within the argument here it is that hm multiplied by x n minus m. Okay, what is hm? I have told you that h means the impulse response of the system, that means characteristics of the system. Okay, so within this summation there will be some impulse response multiplied by the delayed version of the input signal, and all these delayed versions multiplied by the that sample of the impulse response are summed up starting from minus infinity to plus infinity in order to obtain the output of the system. This particular operation as a whole is called the convolution operation. I will discuss the convolution operation at the end of this class. Okay, so remember, output of the system is always the convolution of input of the system and its impulse response. Okay, as I mentioned that if you know the impulse response of any system, for any arbitrary output, for any arbitrary input, you can obtain the corresponding output by means of this convolution operation. Just do the convolution operation in between the impulse response of the system and that given arbitrary input. You will obtain the corresponding output. Okay, so this equation number 1 is representing the convolution operation in between the impulse response and the input of the system, and you are getting the output from here. So you can draw here, it is the system and it is characterized by the HN, that is the convolution operation. Okay, and output of the system is given by xn star hn. This star operation is called the convolution operation. It is nothing but this particular formula. Okay, so convolution between input and the impulse response will provide you the output. Okay, now take the summation of both sides of equation number 1. So summation of yn should be the summation of this whole thing, and you know that just this summation operation can be taken inside because it is the just the summation index. Okay, so take the summation operation inside and you can say that this summation of this whole thing should be equal to summation of the impulse response multiplied by this summation of x y, so not summation, modulus of x multiplied by y should be equal to modulus of x multiplied by modulus of y. It is applied here. See that modulus of this whole thing hm multiplied by x n minus m should be equal to modulus of hm multiplied by modulus of x n minus m. Okay, which is implied here. Now we already know that this modulus of n minus m, it is a delayed version. Nothing to worry about the, if you delay the signal there is no effect on the amplitude. So delayed version, if the xn is bounded, then obviously the delayed version of the xn will be also bounded. So summation of x n minus m should be also bounded. It is less or equal to mx which is less than infinity. Okay, so from this equation you can conclude summation of yn should be less or equal to this thing, summation of modulus of hm multiplied by mx, because see that since this value is lower than mx, so if you place mx here, so that multiplication should be always greater or equal to this multiplication. That means here. Okay, so this term is always greater or equal to this term, so it is given here. And since this mx is a constant term, take out this constant term out of the summation, it will be that. Okay, and you can conclude that since the summation of modulus of the output should be lower than the my for being the system to be stable, then you can say this particular thing should be lower than the infinity, obviously, or less or equal to my, which is less than infinity. Okay, so this whole thing should be less than infinity. From there you can conclude that the summation of modulus hm should be lower than infinity. So it is the condition. It is the condition. In place of m, you are putting n, and this condition must be held for being any system to be stable. Okay. If you want to check that a system is stable or not, this criteria has to be checked. If the impulse response is given to you, then just check this summation and see that whether it is converges or diverges. If it is converged, then you can say that system should be stable, otherwise it should be unstable. Okay. Examples you have to go through by yourself. Next, FIR, finite impulse response system and infinite impulse response system. What are those? You know the convolution formula, as I mentioned. It should start at minus infinity up to plus infinity, but here it is defined by a finite number of samples. Okay, starting from 0 up to n minus 1. So n number of samples are there, and for hn is a causal function. Okay, HL is a causal function. That means for all n less than 0, hn should be equal to 0. FIR system is defined by the difference equation, which is equal to yn equal to this one. That means here finite number of terms must be there. There should not be any infinite number of terms, and there should not be any output terms at the right hand side of the system. We will discuss the FIR system in elaborate way later. Okay. And IIR system are the infinite impulse response system. These systems has to be starting that number of samples here. See that it is starting from 0 up to infinity. Okay, so this kind of systems has to be represented by recursive formula like this way. That means output should be equal to this output terms must be present here. This is the recursive formula, and these are the input terms. For the FIR system, you can simply avoid the recursive terms. That means the past or present, past outputs. Present output does not depend on the past outputs. Okay, but for the IIR systems, present output can be dependent on the past outputs. So it is the difference. A recursive, non-recursive system, again it is another kind of system which can be defined as recursive system. Output depends on any number of past outputs. Okay, that means this kind of terms may be there. Any number of present and past inputs, so these terms can be present. Okay, so it is just like the causal system. Okay, recursive system, it depends on the past outputs, depends on the present and past inputs also. But non-recursive systems present on the past inputs, it depends on present and past inputs, but does not depends on the past output. Okay, just like the FIR filter, FIR systems. That means only the input terms will be present here. Any delayed version of the output is prohibited from the right hand side. Okay, now let me come to the last topic, that is the discrete or linear convolution.